Hello everyone, it's Miss Dixie. Welcome to Toddler Time once again. I have some fun activities planned. If you were here to see my video last time, I was camping and I shared some activities with you at the campsite where I was staying. But now I know not everyone gets a chance to go camping. Some people don't have a place to go, or the grown-ups in their lives have to work and they just can't. So I wanted to show you some ways that you could pretend camp or go camping right at home. You could do this out in your yard. If you have a yard that you can use, you can go to the park, not to stay overnight, but you could go to the park and pretend to camp. Or you can do it right in your bedroom or your living room like I'm doing. I'm just going to do some fun pretend camping at home. Now let's see. Let me tell you what you'll need. There's a lot that you'll need. You'll need a big sheet or blanket and a couple of chairs to make your tent. You'll need a backpack, a sleeping bag or a blanket, all your camping supplies, and then I'm going to show you how to make a pretend campfire, and for that you'll need a flashlight, some sticks, and some orange and yellow and maybe even red tissue paper, and a clear plastic bottle, a water bottle, or any clear plastic bottle, and some tape. And I think that's everything that you're going to need. So to get started, I think the first thing you might want to do is pack. You have to pack when you go camping. I had to pack a lot of stuff. I think I mentioned that. I had to pack the tent, and we had to pack all our food, and we had to pack all our clothes and all the supplies we would need, because you're not at home. You're away from home. You have to bring everything you need with you. So if you want to go pretend camping, you're going to need a backpack. Now I bet you have a better backpack than this one. This one's very plain. It's just a little black backpack. But this is what I'm going to use to pack all my stuff to pretend camp. Now I also need, I forgot this. I'm going to wear my favorite camping hat. And if you have a camping hat, you can wear that. If you have some hiking boots, that would be fun. If you have a little vest that you could wear, you could do that too, because pretending is fun. Now, what do we need? You would need some clothes if you're going to do a sleepover. So just some different clothes to wear. You would put those right in your bed. And then, one of the most important things you need when you're camping is water. You get very hot and thirsty when you're outside in the sun, especially if you're hiking or watching for birds or looking for bugs or catching frogs or any of the other wonderful fun things you can do camping. So make sure you've got your water. You'll also need your food. I'm not going to be gone for very long. So I'm going to pack a couple of snacks. I have a little Nutri-Grain bar. I have some yogurt-covered raisins. And I have a little ice pack to keep them nice and fresh. And I'm going to put those in a pocket too. Now what would be a great fun idea to pack your whole lunch or your whole dinner, and then you can eat right in your bedroom or your living room inside your tent. We'll get to the tent later. And it'll be just like you're camping. So another thing that you need when you're camping, also very important, is sunscreen. If you're camping outside, if you're going to do this out in your yard or hike to a park, make sure you wear some sunscreen. Reapply it often. And also, just in case, a first aid kit is always a good idea. I've got some Band-Aids in here and some other little first aid supplies. Put that in my bag. And then, because it gets dark at night when you're camping, there aren't lights, there aren't electricity, you'll need a flashlight. I have this flashlight. I'll pack that in my bag. And finally, you'll need somewhere to sleep. You need a sleeping bag. Now, if you have one, great, pack it in your bag. If you don't, that's okay. All you need is any blanket. Get a blanket that's nice and cozy that you love, and then you just let a grown-up help you fold it, and then you just roll it. And keep rolling it up, roll it up, roll it up, just like that. And then you can use some string, hair. I have some hair bands here. I'm going to put around it to keep it together, some ribbon, whatever you've got. And I've made myself a sleeping bag to bring. And I'll put that in my bag and bring that with me as well. So now my bag is packed. And I'm ready to go for a hike. Now that that's all set, then we go to our campsite. What do we need at the campsite? Well, the first thing we need is a tent. You need a tent to stay in. This is the one I've made. I'm sitting just outside it, but I could sit inside. It's a little small for me to lay down in, but I could make it bigger if I wanted. And all I've used, can you see? I just used some chairs from my kitchen. I used one on that side, one on this side, and then I used some clips like this. Oops. Close the door. To attach it to the chair so that it doesn't fall down. So it stays right on the chairs. And then there's my tent. I can go right in there and be all snug and cozy. And you might want to decorate your campsite too. I put a little plant over here and some over there to make it feel like I'm out in nature. I have my little squirrel friend here. Come say hi. I brought a little squirrel friend. He's going to sit right over here again. He wanted to join us for the fun. And if you have other toys or stuffed animals that you might find out in the woods, like a stuffed bear or a squirrel or a chipmunk or a rabbit, they live out in the woods. You can bring them along too. I also went outside and I found, whoopsie, something that the squirrel would love in real life. I found some acorns, if you can see them. Some real acorns. And a couple of weeks ago we talked about seeds. These are also a kind of seed, but these don't grow flowers. This is a seed for a tree. This little acorn will grow into an oak tree. Isn't that amazing? So I brought some little acorns for my friend, and then I also have some pine cones around to make it feel like I'm out in nature. And I have the lights off, and I have over here, the only light I have on right now, this little lantern, which is why there's so much glare. But then finally, what I also did is I put, if you have them, I have these little fairy lights. And I hung those over my tent. You can hang them from your ceiling or around the windows and turn off the lights and pretend that they're stars so that you're stargazing. Isn't that fun? I'll turn my light back on though, and we'll pretend to go stargazing later. Now once you get to the campsite, what we usually do is start a campfire. So I'm going to show you a way that you can make a pretend campfire. Now what I'm using, I have a cake pan just as a place to keep it. And then I put some rocks in here just to make it stable, and went outside and I got just some sticks to pretend that I'm going to burn them. Now there's the base. You can see it. I put some rocks just to keep it steady when I've got it in there. So what I need now is that bottle, just that clear plastic bottle. I don't even need the lid. And then the tissue paper. And all I'm going to do is, I'll start with the yellow, I'll just wrap that yellow tissue paper right around. I'm going to cover it all up and get a little bit of tape. And then tape it on. I want to keep the bottom open. Then I'll do the same, just a little uneven so that because flames when you have a fire are a little bit uneven. Wrap that around and do the same thing. Just need a little bit of tape to hold it in place. Doesn't have to be fancy. And then the small flashlight that I'm using, and if you have a tea light, that would work as well. And I'm just gonna, I happen to have one that fits perfectly. It doesn't really have to be that perfect. But look, doesn't it look like fire? And then I will put that right in the middle where I've got all these twigs. And let me show you. I have a pretend campfire. Isn't that nice? And I can set that right in the middle of the room. I put it right here next to my tent. In real life, you wouldn't want it that close to your tent because fire is very dangerous if you're not careful. You have to be with grown-ups if you're using real fire. But with a pretend fire, you can put it wherever you want. You can pretend to roast hot dogs and marshmallows over it. You can pretend to warm your hands by it because it's chilly. And what a lot of people like to do when they're sitting around the campfire together is they like to tell scary stories. I don't like to tell scary stories, not too scary anyway. But I did pick out a scary story for us to read together today. It's called Where the Wild Things Are, and it's written by Maurice Sendak. Now, the fun thing about this book is even though it's about monsters that are a little bit scary, it's all pretend. This story is about a little boy named Max using his imagination, just like we're doing. We're using our imagination to pretend that we're camping. And Max uses his imagination to pretend that he's the king of the wild things, which are these guys, which is pretty clever. So we don't have to be afraid of this story. So that's why I don't mind telling this scary story. On the night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind, and another, his mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night, in Max's room, a forest grew. See? It's Max's imagination. And grew. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day. And in and out of weeks, and almost over a year, to where the wild things are. And there's the first one. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once, and they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all. And made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start." "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat, so he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up, we love you so." And Max said no. The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye. And sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day. And into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him. And it was still hot. I hope that story wasn't too scary. I've always liked that story. Max is very, very creative. Now, another thing that sometimes people like to do when they're sitting around the campfire is they like to sing songs. I know you guys like to sing songs. I want to remind you, when you're camping, don't forget to drink your water. And you can also eat your snacks and have a good time. So the first song that I wanted to sing, because I have two songs for you today, I thought in honor of our friend Little Squirrel. I don't know where he can sit. He can sit right next to the fire. We would sing a song called Gray Squirrel. He's a brown squirrel, but that's okay. And it goes like this. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. And you wiggle your tail where your tail would be. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Wrinkle up your little nose. Hold a nut between your toes. I had some nuts over here. I can actually hold one. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Ready? Okay, let's go. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Wrinkle up your little nose, holding up between your toes. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Good job. I think our friend liked that. Maybe he'd like if we sang brown squirrel. Should we? We'll do it again. We'll sing brown squirrel. Brown squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Brown squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Wrinkle up your little nose, holding up between your toes. Brown squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Very good. That was a lot of fun, and our squirrel friend enjoyed it. Now the next song I wanted to sing was in honor of our stars that aren't real stars, we're just pretending. It's spooky, isn't it? So we can pretend that we're looking up at the stars, and we can sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This is a song that I happen to know on the ukulele. I don't know very many, but I know this one. Are you ready? I don't think I have to teach you this song. You probably know it. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Very good. And those are some things that you can do while you're pretending to go camping. Don't forget to stay hydrated, to drink lots of water, and to enjoy yourself and be nice and safe. And now we have one more song to sing. It's the one we sing before we go. Are you ready? Just set that up there. It's The More We Get Together. So let's sing it. The more we get together, 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 the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Thank you so much for joining me again. I had a good time with you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.